Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you. We're going to get started. Welcome you to getting started with AI Studio and the Gemini APIs with Paige Bailey, who is phenomenal. She's an AI developer experience lead at Google. So we're so excited to have you here today. My name is Adrienne Guy, co-founder of Create Her Fest, and I'll be your technical support for this session. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone is set up for the greatest experience possible. If you have any questions or run into any issues during the session, feel free to reach out to me directly in the chat. I'll be here the entire time to help you out. A quick note about the tools we'll be using today. You'll see a Q&A feature in your toolbar. Feel free to use that to submit any questions to our speaker. And if you would like to share your reactions or your thoughts, you can use the chat to engage during the session. And we also have some little emojis down there that are cute too. You can use those to engage with us. We can keep this interactive and fun. And now I'm thrilled to pass it on to our amazing speaker for today, Paige Bailey.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to have the opportunity to talk to all of y'all today about some of the products that we've been building, and then also hopefully to give you everything that you would need in order to get started today with incorporating AI into your projects. I know folks have probably already been playing with some of the tools that are available, things like the Gemini app and AI Studio, but just in case you haven't and you're starting from scratch, this will be a good place to kind of get up to speed very quickly on some of the new features that exist. And so with that, I am going to go ahead and share, and hopefully everyone can see my screen. As mentioned, my name is Paige. I work at Google, and I have the pleasure of working with many of the teams that are creating things like the Gemini APIs, AI Studio, etc. I started doing machine learning around 2009, which was it feels like in the dark ages, honestly, back in the before times. But it was significantly less cool then. Most of the models that we were building were things like logistic regression, decision trees to solve problems on tabular data sets, and now the world has opened up pretty significantly, which we'll see in a second. It's no secret that generative AI is transforming how Google builds all of its products, and we've been doing machine learning for a really long time as part of the company. When you think back about kind of the mission statement for Google, to organize the world's information and to make it useful, that's also kind of, if you squint a little bit, that's more or less the mission statement for AI as well. And over the years, we've released a variety of things, both open source and proprietary models, everything from TensorFlow and JAX for machine learning frameworks, as well as models like AlphaGo and AlphaStar and AlphaZero from my colleagues over at DeepMind, to things like the original Palm model, Palm 2, and then now our latest flagship family of models called Gemini. And just your luck, we released a new version of Gemini V2, just a couple of days ago. And so for this presentation, you'll get to see it in action, and hopefully working on some things that feel very futuristic and very sci-fi like. So Gemini is decided to be native or designed to be natively multimodal, which means that it understands video, images, audio, text, code, all of the above all at once. And you can incorporate it all into your projects. It means that you can sort of interact with the models in these systems in really novel ways. And with Gemini 2, we also offer the ability to have multimodal outputs, at least in a couple of these domains. And today we'll get to see audio, which is publicly available for you to try as well. We have kind of in the before times, we had Gemini 1.5 Pro, 1.5 Flash, Flash 8B, and Nano, which are our kind of generally available family of models, which you're able to incorporate into your products, your projects. Pro, you can think of as kind of the big guy, the one that's the slowest, but is very, very capable. Flash is kind of faster, great for general purpose use cases. We use Flash a ton for all of the AI integrations in Google products. Flash 8B is extremely lightweight, extraordinarily fast, still understands things like video and audio and images, but is very price effective. So you can monitor everything that you do on your laptop, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and still not break the bank. And then we also even have Gemini Nano baked into mobile devices, baked into Chrome, and we'll talk about that in a second. But just a couple of days ago, we released an even more powerful version than all of the models that I just mentioned to you called Gemini 2.0 Flash. And Flash feels, as I mentioned, very, very futuristic. So if I want to kind of zoom over very quickly to another one of my tabs, hopefully everybody can see AI Studio, which is what I have open here today. AI Studio is available for you to try at aistudio.google.com. I'll also add that link in the chat um, uh, for folks, or hopefully I will add the link in the chat for folks to go click and follow along if you would like. But aistudio.google.com, it has a bunch of models available for you to try. So if you click over here on the right, you can see kind of the Flash experimental as part of this streaming real time. If you just want to create prompts, you can see the 1.5 Pro, 1.5 Flash, Flash 8B, Flash experimental, in addition to things like the associated price for inputs and outputs, and then also what you could try it for. So best for multimodal understanding, multimodal generation, etc. Also use cases and things like knowledge cutoffs. And when you see knowledge cutoff, that just basically means that the model was trained up into a point. So it has all of the information up to that point, and then afterwards you would need to use things like retrieval in order to be able to answer certain kinds of questions. So I really, really love these model cards. You can also see here off to the left that you can create API keys to interact with the models, or you can just kind of build things and experiment within the context of the UI. So let's see an example of this in action. If I wanted to import a video, so I'm just going to use one of the bits of sample media here. I can click this video of a dinosaur, add it to my prompt, and then I would select, let's try this tiny guy, the Flash 8B model. You can ask Gemini something like, please tell me the names of all of the dinosaurs in this video, including the timestamp when they appear or when their skeleton appears. Make sure to include or make sure to format this data as a table and include a fun fact about each dinosaur. I'm going to click run. And you can immediately see things like the token count being added here off to the right. We'll talk about tokens in a second. So this is around 89,000 tokens for a 5-minute long video, still nowhere close to the 1 million token limit for Gemini 1.5 Flash. And you can see that Gemini has already gone through and kind of analyzed the video itself. It's given me the names of all of the dinosaurs. It sees the timestamps when those dinosaurs appear, and then also a fun fact that it knows about each dinosaur. You can also do really interesting things around code generation. You can use Google search as a grounding feature. So as an example, if I wanted to ask a question like, please tell me who, let's turn off grounding really quick, but please tell me who won the physics Nobel Prize in 2024, and hit run. Given that our model's training data cutoff is before the physics Nobel Prize was awarded, Gemini gives me a very unsatisfactory response. It says, unfortunately, the prizes have not yet been awarded. Prize announcements are typically made in October. If I turn on search grounding, and again, this is using even our tiniest version, our tiniest model, Flash 8B. I try again. You can see that Gemini was able to get the answer right, and it was automatically able to use search as a tool. Interestingly, for all of the developers on the call, one thing that I quite like about AI Studio is that whatever I do in the UI, So whatever files that I add from Drive or upload, whatever audio I record, whatever camera or video content I record, whatever sample media I use, if I hit this Get Code button here off to the right, it shows me the code that I would need to use in order to replicate that experiment, either in Python or in JavaScript or whichever language I prefer. And then also you can see here that even though we were able to basically give Gemini the ability to access and use search, um, it was only a couple of lines of code to be changed to be able to accomplish this, which is pretty magical. You can also open up this code directly in Colab and start using it as part of your projects. And we'll see Colab in just another second as well. The AI Studio UI also gives you the ability to generate images. So we have another model called Imagen and another model called Veo. And you can say things like, please create an image of a cat eating a hamburger in a McDonald's in Tokyo. And I've never tried this prompt, but let's see how if I cute and we'll say, please create a realistic image, and let's click generate. You can also change things like the aspect ratios, and you can add negative prompts if you want the images to not be, oh, this is a very realistic looking cat. This does look like a McDonald's cup from not the United States, and it is extraordinarily cute. I highly encourage y'all to play around with Imagen. Go back to the slide deck real quick. And zoom along. So as I mentioned, Gemini 2.0 Flash is brand new. Highly encourage you to test it out and to try it out. And then it also includes things called audio outstreaming, which we'll take a look at in a second. And then Flash and Pro are and Flash 8B are kind of best if you're doing production work, if you want models that are generally available. Though I do highly recommend testing out Flash and seeing how well it performs, especially for your use cases. So what does audio out streaming actually mean? Well, it's kind of cool in the sense that it gives you and Gemini the ability to understand everything that you're doing in your world. So let me go back to our interface. And make sure that everything is set up correctly. So we've got Gemini 2.0 Flash. We've got audio as the preferred output format. You can see here off to the right that you can pick a few different voices. Let's go with IOID. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with Gemini. And I'm going to start asking it some questions. So please watch carefully. I'm going to select my screen as a sharing source, and then I'm going to zoom over to that tab. Hey, Gemini, could you please help me change the runtime type in my Colab notebook? And it looks like there might be some struggle with the output audio format. So let's try this again. I'm going to refresh really quick and then ask again. Hey, Gemini, could you please help me change the runtime type in my Colab notebook? I will try this again in just a couple of seconds. It might be that the browser is not able to understand my audio, given that I'm dialed in to a presentation. But if we can't see it within the context of the AI Studio, we will be able to see it. I do have a recording of something that I think would be interesting to share. But let's go back to the slide deck. And if not, we can just do audio understanding with one of the other models. But these models are doing pretty well on all of our public-facing leaderboards. So our experimental release from December 6th is at the top of the LMSys leaderboard, which is just kind of a publicly accessible way to benchmark model performance. We also have the Gemini 2.0 Flash model, which, even though it's not the largest version of Gemini 2, it's still doing pretty competitively. And then you can see 1.5 Pro and 1.5 Flash as well, also in the top around 10 models that are available to test out and to try. I also strongly encourage you to take a look at artificialanalysis.ai to kind of benchmark and compare models. When Gemini 1.5 Flash was released, it created a whole new quadrant comparing general ability versus output speed. And then underpinning all of these are kind of this theory of enhanced performance, mixture of experts architecture, and then also these very, very long context lengths. So that you can give Gemini a lot of information right at inference time, and it can analyze it, use it to do interesting things. Gemini 2 can learn really complex tasks. We also have a project that was released on Wednesday called Project Mariner, which allows you to do things like control different aspects of your UI and take action, and then also to train and to serve in a very efficient way. We also released another feature, and folks perhaps might have tried this, but it's called Deep Research. So if I go over, select Deep Research, and then type in something like "please help me," this basically gives Gemini the ability to search and to summarize on the web on your behalf. So something that I've been really curious about is, please help me find a yoga class near the Presidio in San Francisco that has instructors available on Saturdays. And then we can hit start. And what happens is that Gemini kind of spins quickly. It creates a research plan. So you can see that it has kind of this structured approach towards finding schedules and prices. I can start research. And then Gemini goes to town, kind of searching for websites that it could use to base its results on. And then summarizing them. So you can see this kind of scrolly circle here. And I'm going to dab back to the slide deck, and then come back once this has been done, so we can take a look at the research that Gemini has created. Cool. So these long context features are pretty compelling in the sense that it can give you the ability to throw in a movie, to throw in audio, to throw in full code bases or full books, PDF documents, whatever you have available, and to ask Gemini to take a look and to give you insights into them. And Gemini Pro and our largest versions of Gemini 2 have a 2 million token context window, which means you can fit a lot of stuff into it. We saw just recently that a 5-minute long video for those dinosaurs was around 89,000 tokens. You can fit in hours of video, hours and hours of audio, massive code bases. All of the emails that you've sent in the last year would still be much less than 1 million tokens, and all of the text messages you'll send in a lifetime. The entire first season of Silicon Valley, if you reduce it to 360p and remove all commercials, all of these things are things that can fit handily into the context window for the Gemini models. We have also given the models the ability to sort of do interesting things like tools use. So the models can kind of interact with tools that might exist into the world. They can also run Python with some libraries as part of the components of the model work. So you could ask Gemini to write some code, execute it, and to give you back the output, and even more. And so the possibilities are endless for how you can compose together models as part of these overlying machine learning systems, to solve highly complex tasks that they might not be able to solve in isolation. Um, as I mentioned, it's not just about text and code generation, or even audio outputs. We also are investing pretty significantly into image outputs as well as video outputs. Imagen 3 we already saw within Text of AI Studio, which gives you the ability to create really expressive and beautiful photographs, or images, just describing via natural language. Um, all of these images that you see on this slide were generated with Imagen, and other versions of Imagen are still yet to come. I especially love using it to create comic books, and to create kind of pictures for storybooks for some of my little nieces and nephews. It's been cool to see it kind of compose together these things and to make words feel real, in ways that, personally, I had always wanted to write a children's book, but I am not gifted as an artist. Being able to write the text and then to have these visuals added, really unlocks a lot of creative possibility that would not have been possible otherwise. We also have VO for video generation, and I'll show you a collab notebook second, for VO. But VO gives you the ability to create short 6-second video clips, just through text descriptions, or you can start a video using a frame. So if you have an image that you've created with Imagen, or that you've created with another open source model, you're able to use it as a seed for VO. And one of the explorations that I was doing just recently, let me zoom out a little bit, was taking an image of the Golden Gate Bridge. So here is what it looks like if I just do a natural language description of aerial zoom into the Golden Gate Bridge on a sunny day. And then the video gets created, but you see there are some artifacts that don't quite make sense. Like there's probably supposed to be like a little another little set of cables there. But if you start with an image, so I used Imagen to generate this beautiful image of the bay, and then to animate it. And you can see this ends up being a lot more satisfying. It looks a lot more real, like a Golden Gate Bridge, than
Go.
than before. Nice. And then let me zoom back to the presentation. And so in terms of getting started, we've already been exploring quite a bit with the AI Studio. Let me go back and show you what one of the things that I had mentioned around code execution. So as an example, with Flash 8B, sometimes you can ask it complex questions that the model doesn't necessarily have the data incorporated into its training data mixture to be able to answer. So if I asked something to the effect of, like, please tell me the dates in January 1, 2028 format for all of the Mondays in the year 2028. If I ask Gemini by itself, I get a very unsatisfactory response. So it kind of looks like that response that we got before adding search as a tool. If I turn on code execution and then try again, Gemini understands that it can use Python, so it writes Python code for me, runs it in a sandbox, and then produces all of the dates that I had asked for in the format that I had specified, which is pretty magical. You can also ask it to give you As an example, my birthday is September 20th. Please tell me each day of the week, and my birthday will be on for every year between 2025 and 2525, because like as all of the social media folks are saying, like we're all gonna live forever, or whatever it is. Let's see. Gemini plugs and chugs, and you can see here up towards the top it wrote yet another snippet of code in order to solve this problem, and was able to give me the day of the week that my birthday will be on from now until a very long time from now. Still very few tokens used, very little kind of cost associated, from the perspective of this Flash 8B model. Is, I think on the order of 3 cents per million tokens. So this all ended up being, just a tiny, tiny, like 10,000th of a percentage of a penny for some of these tasks. And you can do quite a bit with just the models themselves. I'm going to, and as I mentioned before, if you click this little Get Code button, you can also see all of the code that you would need to use in order to replicate the experience yourself. I'm going to go ahead and try the streaming real time. Try the streaming real time again, and we'll see if Gemini is able to access my microphone. But we'll see how it goes. Hey, Gemini. It looks like it's not able to. Let me see if I would, and it might be because my microphone is being used by the conferencing software. Let me see if it could understand this. So I'm going to ask about, hey Gemini, how many fingers am I holding up? And it looks like it's also not able to access my video. So I strongly recommend for folks to go and test this out themselves. You should be able to.
Certainly. The person in the video is holding up 5 fingers.
Oh, I guess it's working. So this is, hopefully folks could hear the audio output. It just seems like there might be a little bit of a lag. But strongly recommend going and testing out the streaming Gemini capabilities. As I mentioned, there seems to be a little bit of a delay, which I will file a bug to see if I can get resolved. But you can also ask things to the effect of, like, let me refresh. And then one of the things that I am going to try is to turn on search grounding. And you can do things like say, hey, Gemini, how much are NVIDIA A100 GPUs today? We'll see if this also works. I would be very curious to understand if this is...
Okay, I can help you with that. The price of an NVIDIA A100 GPU varies depending on several factors, such as the specific model, the quantity you're buying, and the vendor. However, a single NVIDIA A100 GPU can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Would you like me to search for any more details about this?
Awesome. And so, as I mentioned, this is just kind of Gemini's ability to natively output audio. We also announced the in addition to audio tokens, there are other kinds of multimodal tokens that Gemini 2 is able to output, and it can even do things like, again, this is a little bit slow, but bear with me. Let's see how well we can get it to do. Hey, Gemini, could you please help me figure out how to change the runtime in my Colab notebook? I shouldn't have tested my luck. But as I mentioned, encourage y'all to try it out, and to see what you're able to do, with the help of Gemini, and as part of some of your projects.
Sure, I can help you with that. To change the runtime in your Colab notebook, click on the Runtime menu at the top and then select Change Runtime Type. From there, you can select different.
That is correct. So Gemini was able, even though there was a slight delay, Gemini was able to help me change the runtime type. Very cool. Awesome. So the previous thing that I had mentioned before, it stopped running about 11 minutes ago, was this yoga class search in San Francisco. And I'm going to open it up in Google Docs as well, just so there's a prettier view. But Gemini was able to kind of look through, and based on my questions about yoga classes in San Francisco, it was able to give me some recommendations with citations. So you can see here, like the little numbers added at the very end. Saturday classes, reviews and instructor information, pricing and options for all of the different yoga classes, and then also the works cited, so I could have confidence and check the results and make sure that they were actually valid, which is pretty cool. I love that it was able to find classes close to where I live in the Presidio, and to also make recommendations for instructors and for experience levels. Very, very cool. Perfect. So that is Gemini 2, Gemini 1.5 Pro, some of the image generation, video generation features that existed. And I also have a bonus for you. If you are thinking about starting a startup, if you already have a startup, there are sort of cloud credits available to you from Google Cloud. These will be extending into next year as well, though the pricing might change a little bit. We have 2,000 to get started at a default tier for startups, 25,000 at an ecosystem level, and then a scale level for 200,000, especially for AI startups. So if you are a founder, if you want to be a founder, and you are interested in cloud credits, please feel free to reach out, and I can get you help there. And then I also want you all to think about how we can reduce this idea from having, or reduce this friction from having an idea to implementing it. As I mentioned before, I had always wanted to be a kind of children's book author. Didn't think I would ever be able to, because I'm not very gifted in terms of creating visuals. And now I can do this. I had always wanted to develop a game. I'd never thought that I would be able to. I could always program the back end. I couldn't do anything in terms of the front end. I could design the game, but I couldn't actually get that last 30% done. And now I can, which feels pretty magical and is unprecedented in terms of the tech industry. How many doors this opens up for builders, for people who have ideas to get things out into the world. And I also strongly encourage you, if you do nothing else, to go and check out Gemini 2.0 Flash in aistudio.google.com today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email address is webpage@google.com. So thank you so much. And I believe we have at least a few minutes left for questions if folks have questions. Oh no, Adrian, I can barely hear you. Yeah. A little bit.
I even hear myself. I'm not sure.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay, we're good now? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that was.
Yep.
But yes, I don't want you guys to miss out on the opportunity to ask any questions, so please feel free to throw your questions in either the chat or in the Q&A section. But that session was super cool. Everyone's like in the chat, like geeking out about all this.
Cool. Excellent. And I should have mentioned as well, we have a very generous free tier for the Gemini APIs. So you can get started with your projects with API credits, API keys, without having to spend $1. So highly encourage folks to take advantage of that as well.
And while anyone might be working out their questions, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that Google also has like a women launch program with Google Cloud that gets you
Yes.
access to credit and support too. If you know about that, could you share?
Yes, I don't know all of the details about that, but I do know that Google, spends a lot of time and energy trying to boost and support female founders. For folks on the call who might be female founders, like there aren't nearly enough of us, and so I think the more we can support each other and to make sure that we have access to credits and to resources, the better off we will all collectively be. So if folks have interest in that, we can also get them hooked up with women tech makers with the Women Founders Group and the cloud credit opportunities.
Yes, if it's an opportunity, since we're partnering with them, I would love to plug it in for women tech makers. If anyone is not familiar with the organization, it's amazing. It's basically a group that enables other women to get access to sometimes to like Google Insiders, technology, to learn train the trainers, to get like inside scoops on the things that are being released. I see Amy who is here. She's also a Women Tech Maker ambassador, as well as myself. So the crew is here. I think that we have a few Women Tech Maker ambassadors that are participating in this event too. So shout out to you guys. But it's an amazing community. It's international, and it's just it's full of people who are just interested in pouring into you guys. So if that's a shameless plug for us, then here for it.
Awesome.
Hey y'all. So we have a question here. What are some other use cases / applications you've seen people use AI Studio for?
Yeah, so I feel very biased in the sense that I use it for lots and lots of information worker style tasks. And I'm usually in AI Studio on average, like at least once every 30 minutes. Even if I'm not like generating API keys and using them for software development applications. So things that I find particularly useful about it, being able to help craft out emails. So like, hey, Gemini, here is a really long email thread. Just kind of copy and paste it in. I would like to respond in a way that that is, respectful, but that also gets this point across. Please help me do that. Being able to kind of generate marketing summaries, create blog posts. Like one thing that I did just recently was I took an earlier version of a repo, like a 0.7.5 version, threw it in there, and then a later version, like a 0.8.5 version of the repo. And then I said, hey, Gemini, please write a blog post summarizing changes between the two code bases. You can also say things like, hey, here's a tutorial that was written using 0.7.5. Please upgrade it to 0.8.5, and it can do it. I use it all the time. Like, I'm going to nerd out about this because I think y'all would appreciate it. Let me share real quick. One of the things that's also quite cool is you can say like, please create a marketplace website for me to sell my Pokemon cards. Make sure to include emoji and descriptions of each kind of Pokemon. And then we will use Gemini Experimental 12.06. You could also use Gemini 2.0. It tells you all of the things that you would need to do to build this website. So it gives you all of the options. And then if you say, please create a market web place site using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So you've seen that the plan looks right. You click rerun, and it generates it for you. So if you go to something like, I'm sure folks are familiar with JS Fiddle. I'm just going to copy this HTML, take it over to JS Fiddle. So paste it in here, go back. Copy, that's the CSS. Copy it into JS Fiddle. And then get the JavaScript, which is still running. Copy it, take it back to JS Fiddle and paste it in. So we've got our HTML, our CSS, our JavaScript, and then I hit run. And it creates like a Pokemon marketplace logo thing. And you can even make requests. So if you wanted to say like make sure to include emoji descriptions of each kind of Pokemon, also make sure that the background of the website is pink, and then rerun. It can regenerate the code to make it a little bit more aligned. So if I go back, paste in the new HTML, the new CSS, and the new JavaScript. And then rerun. You can see that it looks even cuter with images of Pikachu and Charmander and Squirtle. And all of the code was just created for you in real time, which again, super cool. I don't think would have been possible, easily a year ago, but is possible today with just the models that you can get for $0.
That is bonkers.
Yep. Yep.
You guys, what?
Yeah. So like it's never been easier to be a builder. And to start creating things, not just web applications, but also things like Chrome extensions or mobile applications, anything that you want to build.
Please consider learning this and using it while you're prototyping for the Ideathon and Hackathon. Like, no excuses. No
Yep,
excuses. This
exactly.
is great stuff.
Yeah, and I love that comment from that says the limit is our imagination. That is absolutely true.
This is amazing.
Yep.
Are you guys just flabbergasted? Because I feel like there should be way more questions here. Well, please let us know how we can connect with you and where they can find you. I know that I'm like trying to pull you in as a potential mentor for
Yes.
the Ideathon and the Hackathon. So if that is possible, then we'll be able to have some of our participants circle back with their questions, kind of get their feet wet or dive all the way in, which I recommend, and can come back with some more concrete questions. But how can we connect with you?
Yep. So the best way is to reach out via email or so I'm webpage@google.com, and then I'm also dynamic webpage pretty much everywhere on the internet.
I
So
love that.
places like Blue Sky, LinkedIn, GitHub, Twitter, or like what used to be known as Twitter. Like all of those places, feel free to reach out. And the question from A Bush, which is what is the differentiator for this API? I would say, like, let me pull up. So both audio out, no other model supports audio out. It also supports, as I mentioned, video, images, audio, code, etc., all of the above, all at once, which no other API is capable of doing. It's also incredibly price effective for Gemini itself. And then this artificial analysis.ai that I had mentioned before. When you look at frontier models that are kind of the closest to this optimal point of quality versus price, Gemini 1.5 Pro is kind of as close as you can get. 2.0 is even closer, though it's not generally available yet, so it hasn't landed on some of these charts. And then it's also very fast and very high quality in terms of token per second, as well as too cheap to meter. So this is the Flash Experimental and Flash Experimental Flash AP also kind of falls into this category. They're so cheap that they don't even show up on charts for some of these models. So strongly recommend to taking a look. We also have a pricing page on ai.google.dev where you can see the free tier pricing as well as the pay-as-you-go pricing. And the calls end up being, as I mentioned, like a fraction of what you would pay otherwise.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, there is one other question. Is the presentation available after the session? And then I also peeped, I was being nosy. So on the page that you were showing some of the analytics, I noticed that there was in the top right corner, in my memory, there was a thing that said there was hiring for an AI analyst as well as a software engineer. Sorry, some of you go to photographic memory.
Oh.
Is that still a thing? Like, just plug for our community. Is that still a thing or no?
So do you mean on JS Fiddle?
No, not on JS Fiddle. The document you were showing us before, like 3 seconds ago. When you were showing us like the optimal, like where Gemini was placing on the optimal comparison.
So this is not this website, this one.
There.
Yeah, this is not a Google benchmarking site. So it would be artificialanalysis.ai is hiring.
Got you. Okay, I was just curious because I didn't look at the logo in the corner, but my brain saw that and I was like, question. But the audience wants to know, is the presentation available after the session?
Yes, it does. And y'all are video recording, is that correct?
Yes.
So
yes,
people should be able to watch this afterwards.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, okay, duh. She's asking that, not the slides.
Cool.
I had a moment. Super 0 and 1. But yes, so we can make if you are watching our YouTube, if you subscribe to our YouTube, you'll be able to catch all of our presentations. It's at Create Her Fest. So you'll be able to find that. And then we're also going to have a special playlist just for our Learn-a-thon kickoff week. So if that suffices, let me know.
Cool. Excellent.
Thank you, Dee. Dahlia's just put it in the chat. Amazing. All right. Yeah. Well, if there are no more questions, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. You're stuck with us, so we're definitely going to bring you back. Cool. And all of our participants are probably going to have so many more questions once they start to really dig deep into using the Gemini API. So thank you so much again.
Awesome. Thank y'all. This has been fun. And please feel free to reach out with any questions or if you just want to show something cool that you've been building with Gemini.
Yes, we're going to be building out loud. That's the intention of this event, of this series. So we definitely want to share and take credit for the things that, we're building and the way that we're innovating. So Thank you guys so much. Cool. That's all for now. See you next time.
Bye.